Buckle up for AEC Trailblazers, The Founders Files, where we crack open the stories of the brightest minds in the AEC startup scene. Forget institutional pitches, or diving deep into the real personal journeys of these industry disruptors. Get ready for some casual chats firsthand.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the AEC Trailblazers, The Founder Files, where we interview amazing founders from the AEC. Here with us is Shanthi. She is a seasonal entrepreneur focused on enterprise applications. Shanthi is a product leader with experience in all aspects of company building and ideation, product development, including product market fit, product strategy, building teams, and go-to-market. Linarc is her latest startup, founded in 2017, dedicated to building software for construction management. Shanthi, welcome.
Thank you, Valentin. Glad to be here and happy to be having this conversation with you.
Do you wanna add anything to the description of your profile before we start? Or that was accurate?
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had a couple of exits before. I've worked on different industries. And right now, my focus is on the construction industry. I'm very enamored with how construction happens and the process of building. So that's why I decided to, as I started learning more about the industry, I started to, get very, very excited about building a solution for construction.
Great. And before we deep dive into Linarc, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you started? What was the first industry that you work on?
The first one was kind of like a knowledge base. It was built as way by which teams can pull the learnings that they do and share it across each other and learn from it. We essentially targeted the pharma industry, and we sold a few, but pharma by nature, they are very, very private about the work they do, and it's not really, they don't share much across different teams as well. So from that perspective, it wasn't the right market for that product. That was but it got me to understand what it means to design, think a problem, build out a full solution, create something that is interesting for a potential customer to look at and solve a business problem in entirety. So those were the learnings from that experience.
But did you study something related to pharma, or how did you ended up working in that industry?
Yeah. So tech has been my background from the very beginning. So I've always been about, whatever the scope of software can be. So that's what I focused on. I find an interesting problem. There are different ways in which I land on a problem, but once I take the time to understand it, and a lot of times it's just curiosity that drives me forward, and I put out something based on my understanding and then validate it, and then go through the process of making it right on that particular market.
Cool. And after pharma, what do you do?
After the pharma, I built out, I was working at Merrill Lynch on their, data team. So when I was doing that was when I created this immersive learning. When you join Merrill Lynch, you have to, understand all the regulations that govern the financial market. So basically a lot of things to remember. And I needed to do that before I could, get to working on the, managing the data design, all of that, right? So, but, as you learn that, there's very little that you literally retain when you go through like series, and even though you have to take a class and all of that. It made me think, is that a better way? Because it's an important piece of information. I'm supposed to retain a lot more than what I did. So that's what led me to thinking of creating an immersive learning platform, which was a story-based model. That was something that we built out, and that was acquired by IBM. AT&T was a big customer, and we had a few others before it got acquired by IBM.
That's so cool. You went from like data into learning, and even when you say at the same industry, it's kind of big of a change, right? Like trying to teach people how to do stuff, right?
Yeah. And even for me to understand, whether this would work. I mean, you just learn by when you talk to your customers, they are happy to tell you what is right and wrong about what you've built or you're looking to build. So I'm more like I learned from that process of talking to people.
Cool. And then when you sold to IBM, did you stay at IBM for a couple of years, or did you just sold the company and then move on?
Yeah, so they were more interested in the product. It was part of something that's running on Lotus Notes, and IBM had just acquired Lotus Notes, and it was part of that a solution that they could get out into a lot of customers. Okay, so that's what that was, but that formed the seed capital for the next one, which was omnichannel customer solution, customer management solution platform that we built out. That was when e-commerce was starting out big, and there were a lot of solutions that were either about email or IRC-based chat. So we were the ones that went the gambit of tracking a customer when they come on the website to post sales, customer support. So it was an omnichannel solution. You can reach them on email, you can reach them on chat that we have built on the website, as well as if it's a traditional phone call, right? We were able to build a routing engine behind. So it was a pretty sophisticated. You can do white calls. So all of this, if you think back like 20 plus years ago, right? So that was the thing, and it helped a lot of e-commerce companies. We had big travel agency, those kind of companies as customers. And that was literally the founding thought for that was I bought a piece of jewelry from the online store, and I couldn't find out the delivery date or, ask questions about it unless I either emailed or got on the phone. It got me thinking, if I ordered, why do I have to get on the phone and wait and to get on to talk to them, right? So that was a seed thought that made me think more, understand, build out. And we had a really good customer who worked with us as we were building out and prototyping it, That company got acquired by a company called Kana in the Bay Area.
That's cool. Like, it's just amazing how you said, like, now it sounds super simple, but 20 years ago, it was like 20 years ago, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a completely different history. And I feel that a lot of the technology is happening the same and even faster. Like a lot of stuff that was created like 10 years ago, even like we were speaking the other day, I don't know if you know Calendly, for example.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, it was like, this is amazing. And now Google and all the other companies are providing the same service. So it's like technology advances so fast that it's so hard. You cannot compare that what you were doing like a couple of years ago is not innovative now because things move so fast. And then after your last company, that's when you move into the AEC with Linarc, or there was something in between?
No, in between was my daughter. So, my daughter was really young when we sold out the other company, and I wanted to take the time to spend time with my daughter. I did other things like, of course, be a mom. Then I did my master's in mathematics, and I did some consulting here and there. And then when my daughter was like getting into high school and stuff, I started to think, okay, maybe it's time to, start something. And then I started researching. I was all over the map because I didn't have a seed thought yet, so I was all over the map, interested in different things until I, zoned in on construction.
It's so interesting what you're saying, that you stopped for a little bit because you had your daughter, and I feel that it's hard finding the right balance and saying like, no, I'm going to stop for a while, even when it's the most healthier and maybe I bet the best project you have ever managed, if you can say it like that. But it's hard. It's hard to take that decision. It was hard for you as well at the moment, or it was something that...
So startups are like, it's like a vacuum. It sucks everybody. I mean, it literally sucks everything about you, right? And so are your kids, right? I mean, so both are pretty much the same. So you can't. I just finished this whole building of fixed system, or going through sales, exiting it, all of that, right? So at that time, it just felt like the right thing to do was focus on my daughter rather than on another. Because we could have joined, I could have joined Kana as well. They were interested, but it just didn't seem like the right thing for me. I was very clear that I wanted to spend the time with my daughter, and it wasn't a difficult decision. I think mostly because I'm not working in a company, I have to quit to do this. It was more like that's the right transition point. So, it seemed like the right thing to do, and I did enjoy every minute of being off the working world for a while.
That's
I think
so
that's
nice.
the point of being a mom, as well as being able to exit a company and take advantage of that. So
Yeah. Well, but it's hard at the same time because it's like a drug, right? Like when you're an entrepreneur, like even if you have the money and everything, it's like you want more. Like maybe not another like startup, but maybe being like investor, like you always want more. So it's hard to say,
yes,
no, I want to have balance in my life.
from that perspective, it was, it did feel like there was a part of my brain that needed to really shut down and, focus on something else. It was a challenge. But I think that's why I went to do my master's in maths. So I'm still engaged on the, different parts of my brain were still engaged, and it was still challenging to go back to school, right? So I was still facing a challenge, but the time was still something that I controlled, I think that's what it gave me that opportunity.
So you got your master's in mathematics, which is also incredible. And after that, what was the next move?
I was doing budget consulting here and there as I was trying to get back into the groove of things. I was working on something like an hardware piece that didn't go really far, which was about last mile network connectivity on the field, etc. And that's what got me to thinking like, maybe construction work happens in the field. They would be interested in something. And I also did a remodel of my house. So both of those combined to make me think more sharply along, is this hardware usable on the field, but there were a lot of other issues with the hardware taking off. But I had already spoken to a few contractors, and that's what made me understand that they were not using a huge software on the field at that time. Okay. So, but construction it always felt like magically when you see a building come up, out of nothing, you have these magnificent buildings that come up. So I was just following my curiosity, not really thinking I was going to create a system or software. I mean, it just seemed interesting, and I was just learning more about it, talking to people, and understanding it. That's what eventually formed my seed thought on, this is what I'm building a system that, brings. One of the things I learned was each subcontractor was a silo through the process. So how could you work on something and not work as a team? Those were my founding thoughts on it. And construction it is a complex industry. Okay, it's not like one part can to understand the whole thing, right? So that's what made me think, if there is a central platform that can pull all of you together and you can work off data from that, which is of course my tech background coming through, not the construction background, but that's what made me think. And but it took a while, even after I had the founding idea, to understand the industry, almost 2+ years before I could really focus on building something.
Yeah, the industry is. So sometimes I'm an architect, and I don't know if I'm proud or ashamed of our industry. It's like it's such an amazing industry, and there's so many amazing people. The scale, and you end up putting together something that might be there for most likely most of your life, right? Like, and you will be able to see it. So it's such an amazing thing, but at the same time, it's like you said, there's these silos. It's just insane how. All the different subs, GCs, architects, it's a team, but the different stakeholders, they don't work together. So it's weird how you put together something that is supposed to be something more collaborative than like separate people just trying to do something.
Yeah.
How was for you coming from all of the industries when you started? Like I bet interviewing a lot of GCs and SAPs. How was the process? It was frustrating. It was fun. It was, how do you find out coming from all these industries?
Yeah. So the way I learned it was I had a hard hat and boot in my car. So if I saw building site, usually after I drop it or rock, or I'm coming back from somewhere and I see some site, I would just stop and ask if I could ask a few questions. And you also have to catch them at the right time, not when they're busy working. So if they're okay with it, they would answer a few questions. So I spoke to a lot more foremen before, our superintendent on the site. For example, down my house, they were building out a big water tank. Okay, actually, they were replacing a water tank with a bigger one, right? So it's just down the street. I think pretty much twice a week, I would walk over, speak to the superintendent, just take some, donuts or bagel, and they are happy with it. I'm happy to talk to you, right? So that's what fueled my curiosity. That's how I learned some of the challenges of what's going on the field, how work actually happens, and how they get to know what we are going to do. And working off the blueprint, right? That was pretty much how the whole project was happening on the field, So I was really amazed by with just this much of information you're able to pull together such a complex building, and it all happens often, right? That's what made me think but I'm sure there are problems even in the small remodel I did. There was a wall that was 3 feet away from where it was supposed to be, and one of my room had shrunk dramatically in size. And while the other room was bigger, I was like, we had to fix it. So that's what made me think yes, we do see great buildings happen all the time, but I'm sure the process of creating that can be vastly improved. And if people really work together as a team, if information can be shared easily and people can get a window into what's going on as and when it's happening, it's real-time updates and real-time images, all of those coming through will make a huge impact on reducing the biggest challenge this industry has, rework, cost, budget, time, all of that.
So I feel that something you did sounds like obvious, like going to a construction site and just asking the people working there the problems, right? And how do you ask them for the feedback in terms of what trying to build? And you'll be amazed on the amount of startups that I know that they have never asked questions to their clients. They just started developing something without even interviewing people, or even sometimes going to a construction site. So it's not obvious, but I feel that you did it, and it might sound easy and obvious, but it is not, and it's not something that a lot of entrepreneurs do, at least in our industry, right? That I know of.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know how else to learn about the industry, because I did speak eventually to GCs and stuff, but I needed to understand what happens on the field. So otherwise, there was no way I would know what are your challenges. Right? We know that architects can design, they have a software, they have a system, they put out a great looking building. So how does that building become the building is what happens in the field. So I was curious about that. And that's what I think that was a good step, even what you're saying, which helped me understand how disconnected the system and the process are.
That's cool. And so after that, all those interviews and learning about the industry, can you tell us a little bit about Linarc and what are the changes that you bring to the industry?
Yeah, so Linarc is evolution of my thinking and learning as well. If you look at the very first version, it was very different from what we have right now and what customers are using, right? So that was my own journey of learning. Before it used to be every time I talk to different people, I'm sure in their mind they were saying the same thing, but I heard it different. Okay, so I had to write down everything, compare notes, and say, are they saying the same thing, which took me a while to understand, right? So that was my journey in really being able to bring the system thinking on top of it. Okay, what seems like different things is really the same thing. That was my system learning mindset that came in. So with that in mind, the biggest thing that I'm proud of is basically the Linarc is like from a project perspective, you have a united workspace, where every contractor, right from the very beginning of the project towards the end, they all come into the same workspace. That means, anything that gets put into it, is there some business rules built on top of it by which everybody can access the same data, whether it be the plan sheet or the schedule or the project-wide budget or your own estimate or RFIs, name any object, right? Everything sits there and it's automatically easily shared with just a few business rules sitting on top of it, okay? And the other thing that is there, it's all real time. So foreman on the field looks at something on the plan sheet on his, iPad or, whatever his tablet he's using, and he feels a gap, he can start an RFI, okay? The moment he starts an RFI, it's available throughout the ecosystem, whoever needs to. The rules can say whether it can go directly to the GC or it has to go to the foreman's subcontractor PM, all of that. It's just a rule that they define. The SCPM can say how they see it, and the general contractor's RFI manager can decide how they want to see it, right? And from there on, it's again a workflow that is set up, like saying when the GCPM can say that I want to see every RFI, only then I'm going to route it to the architect. Or literally they can say, no, I don't want to see every RFI, it can directly go to the architect, okay? Or they can even say based on the type of RFI, okay, if it's coming from this kind of a trade or this kind of RFI, go directly to the architect. So then the system does all of that, okay? So it reduces time that somebody has to spend on this particular one. There's no emailing, you don't need to copy, paste and do anything with it. It just goes through the entire system. Once the architect or the engineer or whoever is responsible for answering it, again, the system takes care. No more having to communicate it to others. Everybody gets to see it. You can say delays in it. You can associate this particular RFI to everything in the system, maybe to a submittal, to a schedule, to a budget as you see fit. And you can literally see this RFI is not answered on time. What's the impact? Is it going to hold the subcontractor up, or are they still able to do other things while this is answered? So many things like that are built in because it's one workspace into which everybody is connected and the data is real time, okay? And the rules are sitting there basically saying like, this data everybody can see, this only this person can see. So those kind of rules that are something that you can define for your company automatically takes care of security, data hardening, all of that. So those were the two primary things. It's a collaborative workspace, it's real time, and it's completely rules driven as you see fit to serve the rule. And you can change it project by project. That's one of the, yeah.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah. So that was one of the founding thought. And then the other one was really about, no company is in the business of one project, they are doing a lot of projects, right? So if you're doing a lot of projects, why is the whole universe thinking that you're working on one project? In my engineering team, we are working on, 6 different things. If every time I wake up, I'm really thinking of one thing, right? As a, CEO, the rest of the stuff is not going to get done. So you always have to have that broader mind of what's happening across. How do you, one of my best engineers, maybe there's a complex problem that's coming up somewhere else. I move them, saying, hey, can you solve this first and then get back to what you were doing? So, that means you have this broader mindset of, what's happening across the company, not one project. So with that in mind, all the learnings from one, where are your crew now? Who can you move when? Is that a complex problem that on a different project where an expert is already allocated to a different project? How do you move them, right? So, and equipment, if you have equipments, where are they on the site? When are they availability moved around? And also the learning, right? You did this project. This one looks very, very similar. What are your learnings from this? That's how we do within our team as well. We constantly think about what we did right in the last release, what we did wrong, and how do we make those changes here. So that kind of a mindset, I felt everybody, it's not a project, it's a business you're running. Okay, so you care about your research, you care about the cash flow, you care about how many more projects you can run with the same team size and equipments you have. So that's, every contractor is in the business of optimizing everything they have to maximize their revenue, right? So that's the other aspect of Linarc. And we focus a lot on driving that information into our platform.
That is so great. And then there is something that we have already spoken about, that like a lot of professionals in the industry, not only software-wise, but in the way they manage their studios, whether it is engineers, subs, GCs, even architects, they end up thinking a lot in terms of project based and not sharing a lot of resources between projects or even offices. So having a tool that that wants to change that in the industry and wants to put more focus on we already have silos in terms of the stakeholders that work together on a project. We shouldn't at least have silos within the same company between all the projects we have. So you bringing that up to your platform, that's really cool. I bet a lot of your customers are extremely happy about that, right?
Yeah. As soon as they start doing more than one project, right, they see the value of that. So definitely.
Yeah, we do a lot of integrations, and a lot of times it's just nonsense because we might end up having to bring like data from just a single platform for multiple projects to just relate it. It's just so weird. Why we need to take data out of one platform so we can make projects to talk. So having everything on the same platform, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So another question is, who are most of your clients right now? Is it SMEs? Is enterprise? Is it GCs, subs? Who were the ones that are using most your platform?
GCs and SCs, because it's a project focus as well, right? And because it's a collaborative platform, we want all the SCs also on the platform when GC is using it, right? Otherwise, it falls back on the same mechanism of emailing the SCs for data or so. Yeah, so we do. Our target customers are in the SMB space, and we want to sell it as a enterprise solution. That's what we do, not as a project-based solution. It is essentially to GCs, but with the thought process of bring in all your SCs. There are a lot of value propositions just for the SCs. First is, of course, they are part of a collaborative work environment. And then the resource allocation or equipment tracking, their cash flow, their SOV generation, all of that happens on the platform, right? So that is the whole application is, if you log in as an SC, you will see everything that is geared for an SC, okay? So there is a lot of value proposition from that perspective. So, but our target focuses in the SMB segment.
That's cool. I know you're a really, really busy entrepreneur. I don't want to take more of your time, Shanthi, but I'm really grateful to learning a lot about Linarc and your journey across so many stuff that you have done in your life. But before we wrap up, can I ask you a couple of pinpoint questions to you?
Sure. It's been such a pleasure talking to you as well, Valentin. So, fire away.
Yep. Okay. So, if you can name a great AEC software.
Of course, Linarc. But the first software, next one is Alice. That's how I got to understand a little bit more about scheduling. So, Alice.
Alice is really good. The next big trend in AEC?
Of course, AI, but I think AI is such a big word. I would literally think how you can really design a project as well as into the scheduling and, development of the build plan. So all of those areas, I feel AI is going to really, really help. And one of the areas we are working on is in, answering questions based on the model, the spec book, and the contract terms, so that some of the artifacts can be automated.
Okay. If you could collaborate with any person in history on any project, which person would you choose?
I'm going to say two. Amelia Earhart, just for the pioneering adventuring spirit she has. And then Jane Goodall, to spend your time understanding animal. I think that was because I'm all about, animal welfare, all of that. And one part is understanding. So both of those women are, I would love to work with them.
Love women power. We need more women entrepreneurs for sure. Outside the AEC, what are your hobbies or activities you have passion for?
Of course, running, I love to run. That's something, even if I get off it, I get on it, so that's something I consistently do. And then beyond that, a few things that take your mind off work. I love to garden, write, some scripts and stuff like that, that go nowhere, of course. And then, of course, music, wine, and friends.
Nice. Finally, what's your favorite building in the world, and have you ever visited?
Empire State Building, and yes, I visited it a few times.
Nice. That's a good one. And then finally, can you tell everybody where they can know more about you and Linarc as well? You can give us your site or contact info. That would be amazing.
Yeah, our website is linarc.com, and my email is Shanthi, SHANTHI @linarc.com. You can always reach us, and happy to connect with anyone who wants to know more about us.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for being with us, Shanthi, and we'll be looking forward to see all the new features stuff you're building with Linarc.
Thank you very much, Rajan. It's been such a pleasure connecting with you, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Thanks to our listeners. If you like this content, you can find past and upcoming episodes in ascworks.everse.com and at all of our Everse social media. We'd love to hear from you and recommendations for new content, so leave us a DM and we'll make sure to catch you.